go. You should have turned in your vocab chart, which was all about sensory details, and now we're going to actually use that skill and we're going to practice it. And by the time you walk out of here today, you're going to be master of sensory details. You're going to be so good at it, and then you'll have that skill for the rest of your life. So our assignment looks like this, and the whole point, let me just summarize, we're just practicing everything I just taught you, okay? So we're going to take sentences at the bottom, it says, we're going to take sentences that weren't very creative, and we're going to rewrite them using sensory details, and we're going to incorporate more sensory details, and it's going to make the writing way better. So this is an example of what we're going to do. So we have a picture, and that's our inspiration. The original sentence is at the top. It's not very creative. It doesn't have sensory details. It just says the girl was sad. Not creative. So the revised description with way more sensory details says Izzy sat in an abandoned corner in the alley. She pulled her knees close to her body. She sobbed into her hands as her warm tears ran down her cheeks. She had never felt so alone. Is that more creative than the girl was sad? Yeah. Somebody tell me, raise your hand, tell me what's one of the sensory details in that little description. What's one of the sensory details? Emma, tell me one. Yeah, which sense is that describing? Her warm tears fell down her cheeks. Feel, exactly. So I took sadness and I made the reader feel it, because I know what it's like to have warm tears run down my cheek. Okay, yeah, exactly. Luke B, what's another one? Yeah, what sense is that describing? See, hear, taste, touch, or smell. What do you think, Luke? So out of the 5 senses, if she sobbed into her hands, what sense is that describing? See, hear, taste, touch, or smell. It could be. It could also be sight. Yeah. So sometimes you'll get one description that helps focus on multiple senses. Then, Bridger, did you have another one you wanted to point out? Yeah. Yeah. The sobbing could also be sounds. Yeah. So let's go ahead. Screens facing forward one more time, everybody. 3, 2 screens, and thanks for helping your neighbors. 1. We made it again. Good. Okay, so I'll go over these instructions in just a second. But there's a couple of pictures. The difference on this assignment, all of these are required. There are 6 of them. So you're not just going to pick a couple. There's only 6 pictures. You're going to end up describing all of them. Notice in the blue box, it says, here's the original sentence. And then there's a place underneath the blue box to revise that sentence. So the way that I grade this is not a secret. It's really, really easy. It's very doable to get an A. But it says you're going to describe the picture with 2 well thought out creative sentences. So 2 sentences. And then direction number 2 says you also have to include 2 sensory details. So 2 is the magic number today. That I'm doing 2 sentences with 2 sensory details as part of my 2 sentences. So I do expect that your sensory details are specific, creative, and unique. And guys, what's the easiest way to make our sensory details more creative? What do I make? What do I make? Yep, Tristan said it. Say it one more time. A comparison. Everybody, how do I make it extra creative?
A comparison.
A comparison. Yeah, exactly. Miles, do me a favor. Screen facing forward. Yep. Jude's just signing back in. That's why he's in his. Okay. So, I will not give you points for saying stuff like, it tastes gross. It looks weird. Those aren't creative enough. So I would give 0 points for that. If you tell me why it tastes gross, or why it looks weird, then you have a sensory detail, and then I'll give you points. So if you write more than how many sentences are required? 2. Or how many sensory details are required? 2. If you do more than that, then obviously I'm going to give you coins. Then everybody look at this. This is the last piece of the instructions. So one thing I've noticed is that if kids highlight their writing, you're almost going to kind of create a map for yourself of where your sensory details are and what they are. It kind of forces you to realize which sensory details you might not be focusing on as much. So I'm going to require that you highlight the part of your sentence that was the sensory detail. I'm going to say that again. Listen. I'm going to require that you highlight, Miles, the part of your sentence that was the sensory detail. So like, let's say that I was describing what something looked like. then I would highlight that in blue. What it sounds like in red, what it tastes like in purple, what it feels like in orange, and what it smells like in green. Look at the bottom. It says, if you notice that you're mostly highlighting just in one color, that means that you're not focusing on all 5 of your senses, and I wouldn't give you full points. So I'm trying to get you to realize, am I actually focusing on different senses? That I must see all 5 colors by the end of the assignment. So in all of the pictures, as long as you've used all 5 colors by the end, then you'll probably get full points, as long as they were also creative. But like, let's say that you just had mostly blue and orange. I won't give you full points for that. You have to have all 5 senses. And the last thing, and I know this is evil, but if you look at the top, it says if you don't do any highlighting, I'm going to give you 0 points on this assignment, which I know is evil. I'm sorry, I know that's evil. But again, I'm trying to force you to realize that we want all 5 senses. Okay, so trick question. Are all 6 of these pictures required? Yes. How many sentences on each? 2. And how many sensory details on each? 2. Do you have to highlight your sensory details? And should you be writing extra if we haven't reached our magic time? Yes. Our magic time is always what time? 9:50. 9:50, yep. And am I going to give you points for stuff like it looks weird or it tastes bad? No. Okay, everybody get started. Any questions?